Hey, what is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are doing well, and also hope you guys are looking forward to learning a little bit more about iOS development here. And today we are going to be looking at how to build the nice little text bubbles that you see inside of a lot of the chat applications out there. And specifically, we're going to be looking at the Facebook Chat Messenger application right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and look into the simulator that I have right here. And I want to show you what we want to build. So let me just tab into this app I have so far. So it's kind of like the final product that we want to build and create. And notice how, let's see, when I click into Steve Jobs right here, we have a lot of these text bubbles, and they have varying sizes and varying widths and height values. And that's pretty much how most of the chat applications behave out on the App Store. So I want to actually show you guys the magic behind building out a UI layout like this. And to show you guys how to actually write the code, I want to go into this application right here. And so this code that we have inside of this project, we've built in a couple of the past videos of this series, and this is probably part 5 of the series. And if you want to get caught up, please feel free to click down below in the links in the description. Otherwise, you should also be able to follow this guide or this video, because it's pretty straightforward, and the logic to create the text bubbles don't really we're not really concerned about how to set up this project to this point. So basically, if we go to ChatLogController, we have a UI collection view controller, and we have a ChatLog message cell that contains a text view here, and then we add it using some constraints that span left edge to right edge and bottom to top edge. And doing that, we get these nice little text views inside of our cells, and that's pretty much it. The collection view registers this chat log message cell with the cell ID, and then it does the usual dequeuing magic here. Lastly, we have the size for index path, returning a height of 100, which is the height of this cell, and a view width of the entire collection view width. All right, now having said all that, I want to use this ChatLogController as the starting point for this project here to show you some of the magic that occurs behind laying out text bubbles like that. And the first thing I want to do is to make this a little easier for you guys to understand, because there is a bit of math going on, and I want to show you guys what the math is a little bit easier by creating multi-line text. And I'm going to go ahead and go into this friends control helper setup data method to change what this line says and this line says. So instead of hello, how are you, I'm going to add append to this string by saying hope you are having a good morning. And for this text, I actually want 3 lines of text. So I'm going to say, are you interested in buying an Apple device? We have a wide variety of Apple devices that will suit your needs. Please make your purchase with us. So that's what that text says. I'm going to run this application now to make sure that the changes that I put in this file actually show up inside of this collection view. And to make things a little bit more interesting, I'm going to go back to ChatLogController, and instead of a size of 16 for the font of message text view, I'm going to change it to 18 to make things a little bit bigger, and hopefully it wraps more lines of text. Pretty good. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to change the background color of this cell. I'm going to say UI color light gray color, and I'm going to run that. So the actual color doesn't change until I change the text view background color. So background color equals UI color dot clear color. Basically, you don't see the light gray until I do this. Let's see. Text view dot background color, that. And now that I've changed the text view's background color to clear, we'll be able to see the actual gray that shows through that text view. So pretty good. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to allocate enough height for these two rows up above here. I want to make this estimated calculation of the height just to make sure we have enough height for the text. So we go into cell size for item at index path, and we go ahead and make this estimated calculation like this. So first, we need to do a safe unwrapping of the actual text inside of these rows by doing this. If let message text equals messages, so that's the array of messages that is powering this collection view here. And we'll use a question mark index path, the item, which will get the actual message, and text to get the text out of that message. And text is a property that is on this message object there. That's part of our core data setup that we did earlier. And here is the bit of magic. So let estimated frame equals in a string, and we use string message text. Now in a strings, we have this very cool method called boundary reckless size that gives us the estimated frame. Now for size here, we'll say cg size make view.frame.width. And we use a very large arbitrary value of 1000 here and pump size into this first parameter. Next, we specify options equals in a string drawing options like that, uses font leading, union with uses line fragment origin. So that gives us some of the options necessary to calculate an estimated frame. So let's now specify that as options. And in here, we'll say ns font attribute name. This is UI font system font of size 18. And essentially, it's this font for the text view here. And context is almost always going to be nil. Cool. Now that we have the estimated frame, we can specify return cg size make view frame width and use this estimated frame dot height. So remember, size for item at index path gives us the row height of this entire row. So that's looking closer to what we want. And I will fix this by just adding 20 to give a little bit more vertical space for the row. And adding the 20, we now get just enough space for each one of these cells here to wrap the text. And that's pretty good. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to actually change this bubble so that it is kind of an arbitrary width of 250 there. And so this is wrapping the entire width of the cell. So I'm going to change it to just use 250 of the available cell width. So in order to do that properly, I need to change this size here for this estimated frame to 250. And then that will give me enough height to get 250 width pixels of text. So if I click on there, notice how it is taller now, which is good. That is assuming we have a thinner text view. And I want to actually now change the text view frame to be 250. So let's go to cell for item at index path. Hopefully this will become a little bit clearer once I show you guys what this is going to do. So I can do cell.message frame equals something. And that is going to be based off this calculation here. So let's actually get this estimated frame here by copy and pasting. Remove this last return line, set that frame down here, and this will be, let's see, CG rect make 0, 0 for the top left coordinate. So width is the tricky part. We'll use 250, and height will be estimated frame.height, and we use the +20 value similar to what we did down there. And we can run this. However, it's not going to work just yet because we are using these constraints here. So if we remove these constraints, it'll now work properly. Perhaps you'll figure out why, but removing those constraints is enough to get this to be cut off at width of 250 pixels. So similar to this +20 here, if I add roughly 16 pixels to this width here, you'll notice that it gives us enough space to wrap the entire text without being cut off at the very bottom. That's pretty good. Now, the next thing I want to do is actually create this bubble that is behind the text, right? So I'm going to create that bubble inside of chat log message cell. Hope you guys are still with me. Let's do text bubble. View is a UI view. Let's create all this stuff in code. It's a little bit faster than doing it in storyboards. And we'll do text, actually view equals UI view. View.background color. We'll use a very light white color by doing this, 0.95, 1. Just return the view like that and close this block off by paren. Now make sure to add this text bubble view above this line here, and then we should be fine. So we haven't specified any constraints or recs for this text bubble view yet. That means that it will not show up, and we'll fix that by going in here and using text bubble view. And we use the exact same frame we use for the message text view. Thirsty. Okay, so now that we have this text bubble view with this white color there, I can just get rid of this light gray color on the right side and run that again. We will see just the text and then the text bubble view behind it. So that's pretty good. Pretty good. And I want to achieve this rounded corner for the bubble by simply going to view, layer.corner radius is 15. And to get the corner radius to show, you have to set mask to bounds to true. Basically allows the view to clip the unnecessary pixels off of the frame. So you see it's a rounded corner right there. Looks pretty nice. And notice how the left edge here is kind of hugging a little bit too tightly into the left bounds. So I'm going to increase I want to change the X value of the text view right here. So let's change the X value by 8. And when we do that, we also need to add 8 pixels to the width of the text bubble view behind it. So having done those two small modifications, we get a little bit more breathing room on the left, and we get breathing room on the right as well. Okay, and the final bit of modification to this text box here is to actually use the width of the text as the width of the bubble, right? So one thing I didn't go over earlier is that when we get this estimated frame from this calculation here, it actually gives us not only the estimated height down here, it also gives us the estimated width. So if we do estimated frame width right there and estimated frame width right there, we get only the necessary width to cover the text like that. So that is nice. It's just enough to cover good morning. And notice this is a little bit shorter than this bottom one right here. Pretty good, pretty good. Now, let's see. I want to show you guys how to add this image view on the bottom right there. And we do that by going to chat log message cell here. And we'll do let profile image view. Let's see, is a unit image view. Again, we are creating all of this in code. Hopefully you guys are used to that by now. Image view dot content mode. So content mode equals scale aspect fill, and return image view like that. Paren, close out this block here. And aspect fill just makes sure that we keep the aspect ratio nice and correct. So now that we have this image, profile image view, let's add it to the subview or subview hierarchy by just doing that. Let me get some new lines down here. And I'm going to add this onto the cell by using constraints. So constraints with format here. And we'll just use a left edge like that. V0, 30 for 30 width pixels. And here we use this profile image view. Okay. And for the horizontal constraints, we'll use, or vertical constraints, we'll use similarly V0, 30 height pixels, and pin it to the bottom like this with this pipe at the right. Finally, we'll use profile image view again. Just to illustrate where that image view will land, we'll use profile image view. Background color is a color of red. Cool, cool. Not too bad. Everything's pretty straightforward, I think. Of course, I think that because I'm writing it. And we get this image view on the bottom left there. And I want to set the image to the Steve Jobs image there. And I do that by going to this bit of code for self or item at index path. And I can actually set or unwrap the profile image name equals this very similar bit here. I'm going to do that, and let's see, dot friend dot profile image name. And we get the profile image name unwrapped safely like so. I'm going to do cell dot profile image view image equals image name profile image name. Having done that and running the application, we get the image inside of that little red block down there. And I want to finally change the corner radius by doing layer corner radius is 15, and also doing the mask to bounds. Let's see, interview mask to bounds, true. And we can get the circular corner of the Steve Jobs block. So basically 15 is just half of 30. That's how you get this nice perfect circle like so. And next I want to move this text block probably like 40 pixels to the right or so. And before I do that, I want to bump the image view roughly 8 pixels to the right. Okay, pretty good. And let's see. Okay, so this is now 8 pixels to the right of the left edge. And we can bump this message text view frame roughly 40 pixels to the right by adding 40 on the x coordinate and 40 for the actual text bubble. Let's see what we get now, and that looks pretty good. I think we can even push this a little bit further with, let's say, 48. It's 48 and 48. I think that gives us just enough space for the text bubble. It's pretty good, pretty good. And notice how this is kind of hugging snugly to the top of this nav bar there. And we fix that by going into this method here. So type in collection view and type in inset, and we get this method here. And we use return UI edge insets make of 8,0,0,0. That'll give us 8 pixels for each one of these sections here. And because we only have one section, we get 8 pixels right there. So that looks pretty good. Let me just check these other chat logs there. Okay, not too bad. So let me just bring this down here, bump the size up just a little bit and show you guys what this looks like. All right, that was pretty close to what this guy looks like. And yeah. Right. So that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. For the next video, I'm hoping to show you guys two things here. Two things that are interesting. So the first interesting bit is this blue text bubble. And I want to show you guys how to align it to the right here. And notice how this row doesn't have the image view. So we'll be doing that, pretty soon. And also, if we have enough time, I want to show you guys how to include this view here that is a section header. And it groups the text or the messages inside of the chat log based on the day of these messages. That is a little bit more complicated, but hopefully we'll get to that pretty soon as well. And I'll go back here. And that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and make sure to like it if you do. The project and the code that you see behind there is available down in the description below as well. If you want to go ahead and download that and run it, that is also very helpful for you to learn exactly what the code should look like. So that's it, and hopefully you guys will subscribe to the channel as well. A lot of people are actually subscribing. Thank you all for the support and the nice things that you guys have been leaving down in the comments below. Really helpful, really appreciate it. Gives me a really good way to gauge how many people are actually enjoying the content. So yeah, enjoy your day and goodbye.